Growing up, I got to see how food affected the women in my life. I grew up on university campus and around people who were getting their PhDs. Both of my parents have their PhDs.
Hi, everyone. I'm very, very blessed and happy to have somebody here today, and someone who has been very important to my academic journey, as the name of this channel implies, and that's Dr. Sarah Colby. She's my academic advisor, and she's an associate professor of nutrition at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. She has a lot of experiences, which we'll talk about today, and talk about a lot of things. But I thought about, if I am to speak to faculty members, I think it's just very important to talk to the person who has the most influence so far on my academic journey, and starting from there to other people. So you're in for a very, very interesting episode. Dr. Colby is going to amaze you, as she has always done. But thank you so much for allowing me to do this with you.
That's wonderful.
So as I said, she's an associate professor at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, of nutrition here. But before she came here, she worked at the USDA and a couple of other nutrition places, which we'll talk about. But I think where I'd like us to start is that I've told you this over and over. You have a way of connecting to students that I think you have a way of knowing individual students' strength, and it amazes me. How do you do that? How do you know this person's strength and then connect them? How do you just figure all of that out, starting from there?
That is a beautiful question, and one I have not actually ever had. It's funny because you do hit upon what I think is, if we all have different superpowers, right?
Yes.
We all have just a few things we're really good at. We have some things that are just not our thing that we're best at. And I have actually always said that writing letters of recommendation is my superpower, because I love singing the praises of other people and of my students in particular, obviously, because letters of recommendation. So, but the question of how do I do that? I think that it's listening. You know, it's honestly just, I always think it's about being in the moment. You know, you're always wherever you are. And you can handle whatever it's in your moment. That, and keeping a really good to-do list over to the side. So that way you don't have to be thinking about your to-do list. So when I'm talking with you, I'm talking with you. I want to know who you are. I think there's also that fundamental, you care. I think if you really care about people, and then you take that time to be with them and to know who they are, I appreciate that you brought that forward and you noticed that, because I haven't thought of it that way.
I think you do. And letters of recommendation, the last one you wrote for me, when I read the letter, I'm like, wow, if I were to read this, I would probably give this applicant.
That's right.
It changed it to like a conversation. You could hear, I could hear you talking through the letter, not just reading something you wrote. So that's really great. Anyways, I'd like you to tell us just how you started before you got into academia. I mean, I know you went to North Carolina, Chapel Hill, or Greensboro.
The School of the Arts. Well, are you talking about before?
For PhD.
Oh, you're just at PhD, because I thought we were going way back.
Okay, well, you can start from there, because your journey is different. You started with arts, so let's talk about that.
Yeah, no, it's very different. And I think another thing that's a part of my journey is that both of my parents have their PhDs.
Yes, you told us.
So I grew up in academia. You know, I grew up on university campus and around people who were getting their PhDs. That's probably another part of that.
You think that kind of helped you?
I do. I think it shaped me, seeing so many people from around the world, all working in different fields. And so that's how that was my childhood. That was my playground was at, the Institute of Ecology at University of Georgia. So I brought that with me.
Georgia, okay.
Yeah, Georgia.
I know you always encourage us to bring our children. Some of us have children in the lab. You always like us to bring them to campus. Is that why you talk about that? Because it kind of primed you?
Well, I've really seen, actually, not just for me, but for a lot of people, when kids get exposure on campus and to professors early, then they learn that it's not scary. They're people, and they're safe, and it's a beautiful place to explore. So I think from the youngest possible age, having kids in all kinds of learning environments, I think will open the doors for them later. Definitely.
I think that's an encouragement for those of us who have kids. People don't probably know, but because it can be very overwhelming and like, oh, how can I do it? But I know you did some of that. You encourage us to like bring them on. Anyway, back to your journey.
Okay,
Bachelor's
so,
in arts?
well, and actually, again, with my parents, starting at the roots, my mother was early childhood education.
Yes.
And she did child psychology and development.
Mm-hmm.
And then my father was environmental, so ecology.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'll see that a lot of my work throughout the years is still founded in those roots.
Right.
Then I did theater.
Yes.
So, and theater is about it's about communicating.
Mm-hmm.
It's about how do we understand the world. So some of that, knowing who somebody is and seeing their strengths, probably comes actually from that time of reflection in theater. And then I did I did my senior year in high school was actually at North Carolina School of the Arts, which is where I thought you were going there.
Oh, yeah.
And then I went down to Miami and did conservatory training for 2 years.
Okay. What's
down
that
there.
about?
And conservatory training is conservatories is just a certain level of training for the arts. So North Carolina School of the Arts was conservatory as well. And so then in Miami 2 years there, and then I did a double major at Florida State in theater and nutrition. So you might ask there, why nutrition?
Yes. So that means you weren't thinking of nutrition while you were doing the arts and theater and all of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Where nutrition comes from, and a lot of people that I've talked to know this story, so it's fair to share, is that growing up, I got to see how food affected the women in my life, not to be gender biased at all here, but that's just the exposure. It's my experience, right? My lived experience. So my mother was obese before other people were obese. So I got to see how, she was the most intelligent person I've ever met. Brilliant human being.
Yeah.
Well, she just, and just beyond, I mean, she went to UGA, actually undergrad when she was 16 years old, and graduated top 5 in her class. She was brilliant. So professor, wrote books, had just a phenomenal person, but how she felt about herself only because of her weight, that she felt like a failure because of her weight. And then watching how the rest of the world interacted with her with her weight, watching my father and her relationship. And at the same time, my best friend was gorgeous, blonde dancer, just amazing, gorgeous, but she was anorexic, bulimic. And so everybody wanted to either be her or date her, as the joke always says, depending on their orientation. She was just this beautiful soul, this outgoing, amazing person, and how she felt about her own body. And so for me, it was that impact of food on those people that I love. And it's something that you don't just draw a line in the sand like other drugs and you go, I don't do this. Food is something you're constantly making choices about every day. And so when you're struggling, it's such a complex, beautiful and painful sometimes experience, right?
Yes.
So I was aware of that, and I wanted to learn more, and I wanted to do more. And then I think at some age you realize it's okay to kind of become your parents. And so then that's why I went into academia for nutrition. So I did the double major. Sorry, long story.
Yeah, that's very impressive, because I think you always remind us that we should always remember our why. Because my dissertation is because I had a friend who passed on with colorectal cancer, and you always remember why you're doing this. It's the people.
Yes.
And which is something I think you've done a lot in your work. So you bring
it definitely. And so the funny part about that I think comes full circle is that, so I did the double major, and then I went to Western Carolina to work on my my internship at the time. And then I had my first child, and then I taught.
It's like dietetic internship, right?
Yes. Okay. Yes. So I could be an RD.
Yeah.
And so I actually worked for 4 years as a dietitian during that time when my boys were little, and I taught adjunct at Western because I love teaching, and I already knew I missed the research because of my parents. If I hadn't had that exposure early, I don't think I would have realized that piece was missing. And I love research because it's always about the puzzle. It's about the why.
Yes.
It's exploring, it's understanding. So I went to UNCG, where you actually started the story. Where we're going there. And that's where I say it comes full circle, because I actually did theater as nutrition education strategy with newly arrived Latino youth.
Oh, okay.
So
theater and nutrition.
Theater came, and it was still my favorite intervention I've ever done. It was the most powerful and beautiful,
So what does that entail, doing nutrition education through theater? What was that like?
Yeah, so there I worked with newly arrived Latino immigrants, primarily from Mexico. I had some kids that had only been here for even a few days. Some had been here for a few years. And we first learned how to get on our feet and play and tell stories through, exploring, just play, really. Learn how to play, get on our feet. And then have the kids tell their own story. And the kids,
plays from your mom's
That's
research.
right.
Yeah,
you're right.
that.
Good memory.
Yeah.
That's right. Because my mother focused on learning through play. I hadn't even thought about that. Wow, that did come full circle. All those pieces come together. So those kids got to tell their story about coming over to the United States, their experiences, their fears, their dreams, and their experiences with food, and their food with the culture here, their food with their parents. And they told a gorgeous story about actually with diabetes is the story they chose to tell. And so their family and their parents got to hear those, from a one-page piece of information about diabetes that then I brought to them, since they brought diabetes to the table. All that information got discussed as they learned their lines with their parents, and their parents all came in and watched this. And it was very powerful. It really worked.
That's good. So the theater thing, and then
I went to and so then I went to the university. I went to the USDA, and again, ties. The reason why
you worked at USDA before your PhD?
No, I did my PhD with the theater.
With the theater thing. Okay.
And then I did. I went to the USDA, and it was actually because of my work with the Native tribes in North Carolina, that Jerry Combs was the center director, and that center had originally been where most of what we know about minerals, the research had come from, and they were changing at the time to looking at behavior. And so I was the first person that came in and looking at behavior and community and why we eat what we eat. And
so what made you then come to UT? Or was it UT you came then for tenure track?
No. So actually, while I was with the USDA, my husband had a really big fall. He's okay, but it was a good fall, and I had 2 small children, and I needed a little bit more flexibility in my life. Loved USDA was wonderful, but it is a little bit more of a the time schedule, and when you need to take somebody to a doctor's appointment and so forth, it gets complicated. So I took a position at East Carolina University actually first, because it's coming back to North Carolina, coming back to home, closer to home when we need help. It was a phenomenal place. I'm still torn about leaving, and I know I already left, but
and that's where you met Dr. Jared.
Oh yes. Okay, well, funny enough, when he interviewed, he's fantastic. He's an amazing rock star, right? Yes. Rock star, already like full out there career, and this shows you how old I am, because
when he
interviewed,
our students is already here as an associate professor.
I know. He was an undergrad. That's in a class.
Great. Yes.
So yes, I did have him in class a long time ago, obviously. And then when this position at UT came open, for me, first of all, it's coming closer to home. It was only 2 hours away from home instead of 7. I know that's strange.
Tennessee, Georgia?
Well, that was North Carolina. So yes, you're actually getting all the states right. That I was born in Georgia, and then I was in North Carolina, then with USDA, and then Tennessee. So it coming home, because it's only 2 hours. So I was really very familiar with UT as a part of my heart growing up, because 2 hours away it was UT. So when this position came open, it was just one of those times where I couldn't say no. I was torn. I loved teaching at East Carolina. I loved the research. I was with the multi-state team. I'm still, but yes, I came here. I've been here for a very long time now, since 2011.
So decisions, like East Carolina, is it R1 versus R2, UT, R1?
That is a great point.
What really informed those decisions eventually? Because you have to still decide based on some things.
You do, and I working with so many students over the years, that decision has been so hard for so many of. Sometimes they've seen what I'm doing, depending on the grant and the process, and they're like, "Oh, I don't want to do that. That looks like no, thank you." And then we talk about the different types of choices, like you said, that are out there. There's so many. East Carolina is not an R1, but I had all of the research opportunities that I had with the USDA and that I have here at East Carolina.
Okay.
So again, in terms of choices, it may not be an R1,
Mhm.
but when I was there, I had all of the support for doing research that I could
Mhm.
ever want to do. I did
Mhm.
teach more. A lot of that was my own choice, again,
Okay.
because I enjoyed
Yeah.
it. But I mean, I could do everything I could do here.
Yes. Yes.
And I hope this doesn't sound bad, but in some ways there is a little bit less pressure because
Oh
it's not an
yeah, because
R1.
it's not R1. Yes,
Mhm.
I get
So
what you
there's
mean.
less
Of
pressure.
course,
You
yeah.
do have a little bit more teaching, but it's like when they're like, yeah, what can we do to help support your grant?
Yeah.
And then they're like, yay, you got a grant,
That's
and they're
good,
all
yeah,
excited.
yeah.
But it's not the same. This
Yeah.
is what you have to do.
Yeah, you're doing what you're supposed to do. Yeah, even do more.
Yeah, right, do more. So that's why I guess, that and just the general support, that's why it was honestly hard to leave that
Okay.
environment. That also was tied to the medical school, which was a real benefit there. So some amazing,
Yes.
Kathy Colassa, I don't think you know that
I don't
name,
know that.
but she's another rock star, you should look her up,
Okay.
was there. And so getting to work with her when I first came. Then like Celia Escott Stump, you might know that name.
No, that's a big
This is the hard part when people who are rock stars to me, that when I got to meet them, I'm like, get that starstruck thing.
Yes.
That not everybody always knows
Yes.
as the years go by.
Did you have students that you were mentoring at East Carolina, or you first had your student here?
Yeah, no. Do you know Virginia Caraway?
Yes,
Okay,
I've heard the name.
Yeah. So she's, again, just like Jared, the rock star.
Mhm.
She's at she was actually working on her. Oh, Virginia, forgive me. Was it? I can't remember if she started with her undergrad. I think she did. In my mind, she did, and then did her master's, and then she went to NC State for her PhD. Where she worked with Susie Goodall. So they're great. I have lots of students from East Carolina that I still connect with and know. It's like all these chapters of life that
All right. So can you tell me what it felt like having your first student? I want to stay in academia. I've talked about you with that, and I'm just thinking about what would it look like having a student you're kind of responsible for in that wise. Or let's start from when you were starting to have students. What was at the back of your mind about the people you're going to be working with? What was like your mentoring style? If you kind of thought about it, really, what were you thinking about then?
That's interesting, because I definitely wasn't thinking about what I was thinking about, if that makes sense.
I know.
So I can really speak to how it felt. I was excited.
Okay.
Yeah, I was excited for them. I was excited to work with them. I think I've always seen it as a collaboration and a partnership. I'm aware of the fact, and have been aware of the fact, that for the student, there's more of that formal, like, this is my professor.
This is my advisor. I definitely am that kind of student.
So, and so I'm aware that they feel that way. Whereas I think we, at least the people I know, are aware from the beginning that we're working with other people, other adults. So that line between colleague and student, yes, there's the responsibility side that maybe is the difference there. And I guess with different role, because you do have that role of, what do they need? What's next? How to help them grow? How to help them get where they want to go? But yeah, I think besides excitement, I don't know if I could put any other thoughts with it. You kind of jump in, and as long as you honestly care, and you're listening, and and your priorities are your students.
Yes.
I think that this doesn't help for everybody, but it's very similar to having children. That when you become a parent, your children are first. You know that you want your children to achieve more than you have achieved.
Yes.
And you care about them with all their heart, with all your heart. You love them, and the hard part is they go. That's the hardest part. Is that so? Every student that I've worked with, that I've loved, and that my own unique way. Like it's like you don't love one child more than another. We're all different people, right? And then they've gone and they've lived their life, and they think about me occasionally, but they don't realize probably that I still hold them in my heart. I still care. I still love them. But that's the point. You have to let them go. You give them roots, but you give them wings. So it's that.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that happens.
I'm going to say this. I'm just going to say that I believe you genuinely care about us.
Yeah.
I remember coming to the United States first because my coming to this country was for study to work with you. And then you came, I think you sent your son to pick us at the airport. Then you came you went to pick Chauvin and you put us up in your house. And
got in a little trouble for that, but that's okay.
Yeah. I remember when one of us lost his father and had to go home. I remember talking to you about, if the person was a GTA, I don't want to mention names now, and you're like, okay, I told you I would love to help. You're like, no, you picked up the person's job. And I'm just like, I don't see this in a lot of places. As we move on, I will ask that you continue to engage. So please, do not just watch the videos, like, comment, and subscribe.
That people love her.
Oh, well,
we
have a guest.
We have a guest. Say